Welcome in to PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me on these Thursday afternoon forays into the world of baseball prospects is Eric Garfield of Florida Prospects Report, and going to be doing a lot of stuff with PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com this season. Eric, how are you doing, buddy?
Excellent, Stan. Happy Thursday. How are you?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. I'll be doing much better when I can get rid of this cough. But hold on, I forgot to turn. I try and preserve my light, so I didn't turn it on immediately. There you go. Now I look nice and handsome.
Yes, you do.
Hey, let me just do a couple of sponsor things real quick before we start talking prospects. And we've got an interesting angle that Eric came up with today to talk about the Orioles' top prospects. What company has the expertise and technology to make your home substantially more energy efficient, comfortable, and even virus free? Well, that would be our friends at AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com. We're also brought to you, in addition, by the Costas Inn, where you can get Goose Flights beer by the six pack at Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard, your finest place for crabs, crab cakes, and crab soup. And now with Goose Flights Lager. We'll talk about Superbook Sports in a little bit. But first, let me start talking to Eric. Eric, we kick it back and forth what we're going to talk about. You came up with an interesting angle this for this week, and that is the rarity. I mean, we're really talking about rarefied air when you have an organization that has in rapid fire Adley Rutschman drafted in 19 with the number one pick in all of baseball. Number two pick that year was Gunnar Henderson, who was, I think, 17 at the time. Might have been 18, but he was 17, I think. And then in the 22 draft, it's hard for me to imagine that. I thought it was the 21 draft until I did
Right.
my homework. The
Me too.
22 draft, Jackson Holliday was the number one pick. So the Orioles have three consecutive number one prospects in all of baseball. And am I right? Consensus by all like Fangraphs, MLB Pipeline, and Baseball America, they all agreed that they were number one prospects.
Correct. And it's extremely rare. In terms of Baseball America, it has never happened. So this is a pure and evident indicator that the rebuild is on track and the Orioles can do very well when drafting at the top of rounds. Like very well.
Yeah. Let me ask you one question. This is off the track just a little bit. If you had the ability to see the careers of Bobby Witt Jr. and Adley Rutschman, did Mike Elias pick the right player? Doesn't Bobby Witt look like almost like not a surefire, but a really a Hall of Fame type player where Adley has a lot of intangibles and they're worthwhile for a team that was rebuilding. But I'm wondering, do you think he got the right player?
I absolutely think that he got the right player. It looks to me like I'm not going to put Witt in Cooperstown, but he's certainly someone who's above the level of an everyday player, maybe a superstar type, maybe an all-star type. I don't think Adley Rutschman is any different. He's an all-star, he's a superstar, but it's his personality, his leadership, and the position he plays that was the John Ogden type of pick for the
Gotcha.
rebuild. You can put so much on him personally, and he just keeps going and keeps leading. So it's going to be a good debate for a while, but at least we didn't take Andrew Vaughn, who I thought was going to be the first pick, the one that went to the White Sox,
Yep.
and his career has really not gotten off
No,
to the start that
he's a
Witt or
good
Rutschman has.
he's a good player, but he's nothing special right now. Andrew
He's
Vaughn.
had a hot half, but he hasn't had a consistent season so far.
All right. So how rare is it? And I don't know what access you have to information. How rare is it for a team to get three number one consensus players in the minor leagues in a row?
It's never happened, so you don't have to
That's
do
pretty
a lot
rare.
of research. The
Pretty
or
rare.
Right, extremely rare. The Orioles are setting the trend that way, and it also looks to be within reason that they could have a fourth consecutive one in a year from now in catcher Sam Basayo. That's certainly worth looking at also. But as far as linchpin cornerstone types, you know, every time that someone's labeled a top prospect doesn't mean that their career is going to work out. Look at Wander Franco. Not that many people are talking about the fact he's the Rays' best prospect. He won it 2 years in a row. He's out of the game.
Yeah,
So it doesn't always portend.
It looks like he'll face a permanent ban. Yeah.
It doesn't always portend long-term success. Back when I started looking at this, Oakland A's, Todd Van Poppel. The year after that, Brian Taylor in the early 90s. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to be a good professional baseball player.
No, there's no automatic. One player you left, you jumped from Holliday to Basayo. Is there any chance that if there's not really room, let's just say Ryan Mountcastle's raking, and the Orioles offense is really terrific, and Kobe and Henderson, let's say Henderson is playing third and Holliday is at short, and Jordan Westberg is at second, and Mayo is just stuck, and he's having a fabulous off the chart season. Is there any chance he could briefly be considered the number one prospect in baseball this year? Because he's a little bit older than Basayo, I think, right?
He is. He's 22. Basayo is
19
18.
18. Okay.
So or maybe 19.
19.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. And what people expect of Kobe, there's a good chance that something like that is going to happen. The only thing in the way of Kobe getting to that number one level is if that starts to happen and his momentum is building, the Orioles are going to bring him up to the majors and he's going to start his major league clock with them. That's kind of what they want to happen also. So there's a lot of people kind of hoping and investing in that particular scenario. Hopefully Kobe starts mashing, he goes up, and the most powerful hitter left in the Orioles minors will clearly be Basayo.
If you're Mike Elias and Sig Maydal and Matt Blood, or you know how they think a little bit more than I do, where is Mayo playing when the Norfolk season begins? Because if you, here's my question really. If Holliday does make the team and they hope and say, he's going to play short, Gunnar, you're going to play third, and Westberg's at second, where do you play Mayo? You play him in left field? Do you play him some at first base, or a mixture of all three, third, left, and first?
Yeah, we've talked about this. I think it's going to be a mixture, and I think that the Orioles evaluators and experts are going to be the ones that determine what percentage of that mix is played where. I think one of the major storylines of the camp/spring season is going to be watching Kobe try to ply his trade as a right fielder or a left fielder and see if he can use that 93 mile per hour arm to get people out and use that height to get to fly balls. I will have my camera out there and I'll be starting going to complexes as soon as tomorrow. So we're going to see it really soon.
Are you anticipating? We know Holiday's going to be with the big league club for spring training, right?
We think. Pretty sure.
We're pretty sure of that. Do you think Mayo makes a couple cameo appearances with the big club? Is that the way it would be? And otherwise, you'd be at Twin Lake Park.
Absolutely, yes. And he did it a little bit last year with their spring training. I want to say there were between 3 and 5 road trips they took away from Sarasota, and Kobe was with them, not a starter, but getting some at bats on the field, warming up behind Mountcastle, behind Urias, with the Orioles major league coaches and instructors. So that was the introduction. This year, it's going to be a level up. There are going to be games where he starts spring trainings, and hopefully they're games where the rest of the roster is major league regulars, so they can really see how Kobe looks and how he fits in that starting nine.
Yeah, I would think that there will be days where they're traveling to Clearwater or Dunedin or Fort Myers where a
Tampa.
lot of the regulars stay back at camp,
Yep. Yep.
but that Kobe will accompany the team on several
Yep.
trips. Hey, one thing last night, because I'm preparing for my fantasy baseball draft, and I started going through top 10 lists. And the only area where I don't see an Oriole is in the top 10 left-handed pitchers or the top 10 right-handed pitchers. Um, Obviously, Mike Elias would like to have one left-hander at least and one right-hander because a couple teams do have that. Um, do they have, and we talked about this last week, we talked about it as a positive when you have a Chase McDermott and a code Cade Povich
Povich.
and Seth Johnson. Do you think they have enough, or is this the result of not ignoring pitching, but when you had the top picks, I understand you sort of the riskier if they're pitcher. This is like looking for his spots, Wyatt.
Right. It's all, every phase of watching a pitching prospect along comes with a different type of nervousness or anxiety. It's so hard that the Pirates picked Skeens as their first guy, and now they have to hope he never gets Tommy John or hope it doesn't happen on their watch. So I think the Orioles' emphasis on offense kind of minimizes the risk during development. And it's better to have, Chase McDermott and DL Hall and Cade Povich. They're among the better pitching prospects in the game, but they're not on the level that the hitters are on. So it's minimized some developmental risk that the Orioles have assumed, but they're ready to utilize those guys and have them break the line and be in the majors. That camp and the exhibition season is going to determine that also. Otherwise, they'll park them for the beginning, along with Justin Armbruster at Norfolk, and hope for some type, like we talked about last week, some type of repeat on AAA winning percentage. I think that's a reasonable expectation.
Right-hander Paul Skeens was the number one pick in the draft last year. He's listed as the number one right-handed pitching prospect. They have a left-hander, Pittsburgh, Anthony Solometo, who is the fifth prospect, fifth left-handed prospect. So they might not have, and they also have a top. Am I right? Is he a second baseman? The guy I thought the Orioles might go for, Tamar Johnson. A really good prospect. He's the number one second base prospect. So Pirates are coming.
Pirates are excellent. They're the only team that I watch and cover their prospects as much as the Orioles. And the industry, as far as I'm concerned, is not high enough on Tamar. I have reels and reels of video of him showing ridiculous exit velocities, being an outstanding fielder in drills and games. I think Tamar is excellent. But the one you mentioned, Solomito, he was criticized for the awkwardness in his delivery. The Pirates have made a decision to not change it, and he's gone from low 90s to high 90s in the early part of his development. I think he might be the best prospect that the Pirates have when all is said and done. This kid can pitch.
So you are up on the Pirate prospects. Is that because you live in Bradenton?
I live in Bradenton. My close friends are their video department, so yeah.
What is the equivalent to their Twin Lakes? Is it at the Bradenton complex?
Pirate City. It's about
Pirate City, yeah.
11 minutes from my house, and I should be there tomorrow at 9 a.m.
I got somebody to hook you up with who does some radio things on Pittsburgh Pirate baseball.
Okay,
he's a good dude. He's a good dude. If you were picking now, and obviously each of these three players, Gunnar, Jackson Holliday hasn't played a major league inning yet, but if you were predicting who the best player of the three are, and it's sort of a goofy question because they're all going to be tremendous players, but if you had one to say, I'm putting my money that he's the best guy, is it Holliday or is it Gunnar?
It's not a goofy question because sometimes examining these specifics is the difference between first place and second place, or a good draft pick and an average one. So I love to look at stuff like this. As much as Adley and Gunnar are truly great major league players, the upside of Holliday is just impossible to ignore. It's all the skill that he has, it just looks like he's the best player overall in the minor leagues. He might not have a loud standout skill. He's not bad at anything. He's not a slow runner. His transfer is electric. On top of that, you have the bloodlines of being from a family who's known for being excellent at baseball. He loves the game. He knows the game. He's experienced for a teenager. Those things are just absolutely impossible to look past, even when comparing him to all-star types like Adley and Gunnar. I think it's a great question.
Now, I asked you before, I asked you the question about Rutschman versus Witt. Is there anybody that the Orioles were interested in? I know they were interested in Tremar Johnson because I think they thought they could draft him one and do the pay him under slot and have more money to get a second great pick. But was there anybody else you thought that they really were high on?
Yes, and it looks like as of now it would have been the wrongest pick that they could make. Arizona outfielder Drew Jones Jr. is looking like his development might be a little less linear, or his end of development might have a little less lower ceiling than it did originally. And depending on who you listen to, all the pundits, all the publicists said the Orioles were drafting Drew Jones. I actually got to a point where I was convinced and kind of hopeful that they were doing it, even looking past bats like Tremar and Jackson Holliday. So I'm really so glad that they ended up with Jackson Holliday. There's nobody from that draft that looks like they're more on track for stardom than Jackson Holliday.
The player Drew Jones, he's the one that got hurt in batting practice, like when he came to the Diamondbacks to take batting practice. Was that a knee injury?
Shoulder. And it took a lot, and the timetable took a considerably longer than they thought. So his first year was almost like not even a year. And it happens all the time. But when he came back, it just looked like the layoff very obviously affected what he was supposed to be in year one. The Orioles, their rebuild, we're coming for first place. We do not have time for absolutely wasted and empty development. I mean, that is a major change from just a few years ago.
What's the status of the kid that his dad used to play for the Steelers and the Ravens, Eric Green's son? Is that Elijah Green?
Okay, that is Elijah Green, and he's another
with the Nationals, right?
Yep. And remember, they traded Soto, so their system got fortified with talent. Some people feel like Green is still going to out talent what the trade return was. After last year, it's also looking like his ceiling is a little bit different than originally perceived, and he's going to have to work to get there. He's one whose his athleticism is out of this world, but at least in the first year, it did not translate to hitting hard type of success, defensive type of success, or on the bases type of success. So the Nats have their work cut out with Elijah Green. My friends and I were having a discussion. Who are the prospects you're ready to move on from already? All of them are ready to move on from Green. I'm giving him one more year. We have the same initials, EG, so I'm going to stay with him.
You're sticking with him. All right. Hey, let me take a pause here for the cause and tell you that Superbook, the most trusted name in Vegas, they've been in Maryland since last summer. They're out there at Camden Yards. And of course, now you can use them on your phone, tablet, or PC. And now you can use the promo code StanCharles23 or Glenn Clark 23, either one of them. No caps needed, or it's not cap sensitive. So Stan Charles 23, no spaces, to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, it will match your first bet up to $250 with that promo code Stan Charles 23 or Glenn Clark 23, all one word with no spaces. Don't miss out during this football season. What's left of it, the basketball season and baseball is ready to start up. You can win some money with Superbook Sports and promo code StanCharles23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In wrapping up today, Eric, there's two players that you talked about, Basayo and Mayo, who are, we can argue, they're both top 10 talent very shortly, if not both in the top 10 right now. Um, what do you expect? Where do you expect both to play this year? You've already touched on. We think that Mayo will be delayed. He'll be at AAA. But Basayo, is he going to start at Bowie? He's not ready for AAA yet.
In some ways he is, but overall he's not. So right, he's going to be at Bowie. Look, the way that his timeline has gone, don't be shocked if he's one of the best hitters in AA.
Yeah,
from the jump. So this is the kind of athlete that knows what's in front of him and is willing to do the work that to get there. And if he starts off bad, if he has a slump, he's going to be the guy that's in the cage in the middle of the night for weeks in a row to get out of it. So I don't think it's going to be a full season assignment to AA. The Orioles now, it is total consensus. They know what they have in him. It's a future superstar. They want him moving up as a sign of their international success, but also to substantiate a good young lineup and be a linchpin in the middle of it. So he's on track to move up, not stay in the minors like some of the other prospects that we've discussed.
you mentioned if he slumped. Is slumping to be panicked about, or is it a good thing in the development of a young hitter?
Ooh, another journey into uncharted waters. I really don't know. I've never seen him have an extended period of a lack of success. He's always been
I'm not
above.
just talking about Basayo, I'm talking on any hitter. Can that be a positive that he learns that he doesn't know it all, and that's what development or growth is?
Absolutely. And the Orioles stress education all through their system, up and down, from 17-year-olds to 23 and 24-year-olds on the farm. Yeah, you can learn by a lack of success. Sometimes you learn more by going 0 for 5 a couple games in a row about what you're facing and what you have to do to get to that level. The Orioles, as I've said, are stressing overall education, and baseball is just a part of it. But I'd be really surprised if we see Sam even bat as low as like 250.
270 or two, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's just always been a level above his peers. It's reasonable to just assume that's going to continue.
You expect him to finish the season at AAA?
I do. I do. And I expect, just like last year with Holliday, as Norfolk gets, has a good and looking even better than good down the stretch type season, they're going to add him and he's going to be a part of their postseason run, just like Holliday was last year.
Before we go today, um, we've talked about all the big names, from Kyle Stowers, Kerstad, Norby, Mayo, Holliday, Henderson, and all that. Give us two or three names, and they could be pitchers that we haven't talked about, but guys that we'll be talking about in May and June that are sort of names that might not be on everybody's radar. Because you would agree, everybody's so interested in the Oriole prospects right now that all the names I just mentioned to you, everybody's aware of Connor Norby, Westberg, but one or two names or two or three names that we should tuck in the back of our head that we're going to know by May or June this year.
Okay, the first one that comes to mind is outfield prospect Billy Cook. Now, a lot of people are out on Billy Cook. I'm not. He got hot. He started to put it together. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed. He's 25 years old. He's just about ready. If he does what he did in the second half in the first quarter, he's up.
He was at Bowie last year, right?
Right. He's up. He's 25 years old. So there's one. Okay. And there's two SEC outfielders, one of whom is going to emerge. That's John Rhodes from Kentucky or Judd Fabian from Florida. A lot of people like Fabian.
I know that.
And thought that he could have been the first pick in his draft. I do too. but I kind of think the athlete, the overall baseball acumen of Rhodes is going to push him up a little bit earlier and a little bit more than people think. As far as pitchers, another international guy that I've just been watching video on and reading about and talking to, this guy is ready to take a step forward. That's righty Edgar Portes. 2 weeks ago, he was in a bullpen in the Dominican Republic getting lessons from Pedro Martinez about all speed and right, right. I mean, Portes is he's, I don't want to say a superstar, but he's somebody who for 19 is a lot more polished than what his bonus amount would you would think would go for. So
Was
Portes,
he like was he $100,000 player or even
double
less?
digits, less,
Less,
and this
50,000.
and he's good. So that's another great coup by the Orioles to not overpay for talent, but it's blossomed. So Portes, Billy Cook, Judd Fabian, John Rhodes. I think at least two of those guys are going to have star minor league seasons for the Orioles, and we'll be talking about them all summer. I really can't wait.
Where are Fabian and Rhodes going to start this season at Bowie?
Ooh, that's another element of competition. One of them up, and maybe one of them down because they need to play every day. So for Rhodes to go back to Bowie and Fabian to go up to AAA and be closer, it would mean that the camp competition was lost by Rhodes. I'm inclined to think he's going to win it. And again, I will have video of all of it up on Press Box as soon as they start playing at the complex.
All right, that address is pressboxonline.com on our video section. All right, Eric, great stuff today.
Thank you.
Just trying to think. One last question, because we're now, 2 weeks away, 2 weeks away from 2.5 weeks from pitchers and catchers. Elias kind of addressed it the other day, and he'll probably be talking about it at the fan caravan they're doing this week, about I'm not just here to parcel out prospects to acquire somebody. Got to be a right trade. There's never too many prospects. We talked about it a little last week. Is there room for all these guys to, and I know, and not everybody's going to, like a Kerstad and a Norby or Kauser aren't going to be happy being in Norfolk this year. But is there room to make it all work?
This is why these people have salaries that are so much larger than ours. Yeah, these
above
are tough.
Our pay grade. Above our pay grade.
These are tough questions, and just going by numbers, yeah, there's going to be a couple that look like they're prospects dead on for success that are going to end up as 4A guys in this organization. To some, that's a sign that things are looking good. To the agent of some of these players, maybe Kyle Stowers or his ilk, it's going to be awful, the most wrong thing that could ever happen. But it depends on your perspective. I'm going to say, just based on numbers, yes, there's going to be some that when we look back at their career, it was almost like they got stuck by being drafted by a good team who's on the way up and going towards winning. So yeah, it's going to happen.
Well, we wish them all good luck, and we hope it all sorts itself out, and we can use a couple of them to get a pitcher. I'm still vaguely optimistic that they could work something out with a Miami, but we'll see.
I think they will, actually. It's just going to come late.
Yeah. There's rumor today that two teams have put in an offer for Domingo Germán, formerly of the Yankees, with some personal problems with alcohol and abuse, things like that. But there's rumors that Toronto and the Orioles are the two teams. He would come very cheap. I think you're talking about a $2 to $3 million.
I was just about to say, nobody that we've discussed today is being traded for Domingo Germán from the Orioles side.
No, he's a free agent. He's a free agent.
Oh, okay, even better.
All right. We're back on next Thursday. I will talk to you soon, and go Ravens. All right?
Yep. Talk to you soon, Stan.
All right. Good stuff. Eric Garfield of Florida Prospects Report, and now with PressBoxOnline.com. That's it for today. We thank our sponsors, AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com. Of course, the Costas Inn, where in addition to great crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and the great specials every night of the week, Monday through Friday, you can also get your own 6-pack of Goose Flight's lager to help the Goose Flight's mission, Tony Saragusa's mission to fly people that are not critically ill, but that need transportation to get better medical care. And we're also brought to you by the folks at Superbook Sports, where by using the promo code StanCharles23 or Glenn Clark 23, you can qualify if you sign up now for $250 for their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet. 150. For Eric Garfield, I'm Stan the Fan Charles, and we'll be back Monday with Ross Grimsley, we hope, and Thursday with Eric and Luke Jackson and Eric Garfield next week. That's it for